Why do people write reviews like that? Honestly, who's gonna read that? Can I just say this review is badass, like the best I've ever written. If I were any more badass, I'd burn myself. I had better chemistry with my wall than these characters had with this. Is a 2-star review, and it says, there are many things wrong with this book. It's come to my attention that we haven't filmed this type of video in over a year, and I thought it was time for us to do a updated version. All the books on this list are what I read after April last year, so it is 4 stars and above. But let's read 1-star reviews of my 5-star books. I'd suggest getting a drink and getting comfy because this is going to be a long one. My drink of choice today is a rooibos tea with just some lactose-free milk. Tastes delicious. So the first book we have on my list, it's just in random order because I went to Goodreads and just filtered it via my ratings. So some of them are 5-star and others are 4-star and above, like I said. My phone is also going crazy at the moment. It's just turning off every time I don't use it. Crown of Midnight. So this one is a 2.5 stars and it says, answer me something. How can this? She tipped her head back and gave the moon a wicked smile. She'd been called Ardalin's assassin for a reason. Dramatic entrances were practically her form of art. And this. Curled on the couch beside Kale, Selena took a sip of her tea and frowned. Can't you hire a servant like Philippa so we can have someone bring us treats? Possibly be the same person. I teetered between liking and hating Selena while reading. Mostly hating. I can handle the shoes and shopping because a girl has the right to look damn good while disemboweling enemies. Fun fact, Selena finally acts like a real assassin in this installment. But leaving her post to dance, I'm going to say it one more time to let it sink in. The world's greatest assassin left her fucking post to dance. Okay, well, just, I don't know, she's fucking like 17 years old, so I don't know why she's going so crazy. It's not that serious, in my opinion at least. And anyway, she continues to say, it's such a transparent attempt to squeeze in a moonlit waltz between Kale and Selena. I want to laugh. I'm Team Dorian, by the way, just putting that out there. Kale is an overprotective fuck knuckle who can suck it. Passionate? Selena still does stupid crap, like exploring without backup or sufficient research. Her obsession with chocolate cake is goddamn annoying. It's too cutesy and feels like mass trying too hard. Each time it came up, I felt a bit like paraphrasing. Midway, as I was finally warming up to Selena, she turned into an uber Mary Sue. So the rest of it is a little bit of a spoiler, so I don't want to read that out. But damn girl, like I thought it was great that she had the perfect amount of like being an assassin and being cutthroat and everything, and then also being girly because she was spoiled. Growing up in Araban's Keep, she was kind of spoiled, so it makes sense to me. And she's living a double life because no one really knew who Selena Sodathin was. Like she kept her face covered. So I get it. And she got accustomed to the way that she had to disguise herself. She can kill you in her sleep. So I don't know. I think that is a little bit too overzealous over there. But I mean, it's just her opinion. But I absolutely loved it. I love the two polarizing sides of Selena. I love how cocky she is. And yet I can tell she's not the best assassin, like she makes the dumbest mistakes. But I think that's amazing because she's only 17 years old. Imagine her 21, 25, 28. She can only get better. So I don't know. I think that's a little bit crazy. But let's read another one here. This is a 1-star review and it says, I had better chemistry with my wall than these characters had with each other. You must really like your wall. At least the wall held my attention without letting me down. That's mean. No amount of words do justice to describe how boring and bland this book was. Every time I picked this book up, I wanted to put it down. The plot twist in the end was so obvious. I saw it coming from miles away. I don't get it. Why is the author wasting so many pages by filling it with nothingness, especially when the series has so much potential? What's the point of making the last 20 pages interesting when the rest of the novel is this horrendous? Mars followed the same formula with this book and TAB. What's TAB? I have no idea what TAB is. If the author isn't going to deliver anything until the end of the book, then why not just write a novella? Throne of Glass, The Assassin's Blade, and this book could have easily been merged together, considering these 3 books have content worth for 1 book only. I could summarize all the events that took place in these 3 books in a single page. That's how limited the content in these 3 books was. Imagine wasting 1,200 plus pages, 98% of it filled with nothingness, to the rest 2% is the plot and act. The math is simply not mathing, and I seriously don't get the hype. Not one bit. Sorry, not sorry. I don't agree. I thought it was very exciting. I don't believe that Assassin's Blade needed to exist. The part where Sam is involved, yes, I can relate that to, but that could have been a prologue. That could have been a prologue. She could have summarized that whole bit and put it as a prologue in Throne of Glass. And I don't believe that Assassin's Blade is that necessary. Reading it after I read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, it kind of made more sense, and I don't suggest reading it first. I don't agree with what she's saying. I think it's fucking great. I love her world building, and she makes you connect with these characters. Like, they just so, I wouldn't say normal, but they just feel so real to me, and they have like real life characteristics. They have flaws, they have quirks, they have things that we don't like about them. So I think it's great. I love the worlds that she creates, and I find it very, very, very consuming. The next book I have on my list is The Shattered King by Charlie N. Holmberg. I read this just a couple of months ago from now, and it was sort of a new release. However, I don't know, I did an immersive read, and I just thought it was so different from anything else that I read, and the magic and the world made it a 5-star for me personally. This is a 2-star review, and it says, there are many things wrong with this book. Let's bullet point. Oh, we love those, don't we? Number 1, Holmberg is too creative. Yep, this is the second book of hers I've read. The other was, I don't know which one that was, but she linked it, where the author creates this elaborate magic system, which I just could not visualize. The main female character, Nim, spends endless hours in the MMC Ren's Lumi doing magic stuff. By the end of the book, I still only vaguely understand what she was doing. Okay, I also, at first I didn't understand it, but it's kind of going into the essence of who you are, like your aura. Say your aura. Everybody's aura is different, and everybody's soul is different. So she goes in there and kind of rearranges blocks to heal you and to eliminate death lines and stuff like that. And I thought that was very interesting, and I could envision what she was doing, like reaching into you and kind of trying to fix the essence of who you are. So I got that part. Anyway, number 2, sorry, it's Stockholm Syndrome. The romance goes like this. Nim is called to the castle away from her family, which is not a minor plot point. Then, congratulations, Nim is able to heal Ren slightly. She's then basically taken captive and abused by the evil queen for several cringy and brutal chapters. The phrase, take her to the dungeon, was actually spoken. Nim is forced to attempt to heal Ren all day, every day for several weeks. The turning point only comes after she's worked to exhaustion and almost dies. That is kind of true, but we knew the queen was evil though, so I don't know why we're shocked, and I don't know why it's an issue. Why the hell is Nim falling for this guy after Ren starts to get better? He turns out to be a decent bloke, so Nim falls in love with him. I'm assuming because she spends 24/7 in his head or soul, or the magical manifestation of his body. Sorry, but it just sort of the definition of Stockholm Syndrome. That does make sense, yes, but they're both really, really damaged. They've both been through so much stuff, and they can relate on deeper levels. And because they've spent so much time together, they got to talking, and he's a broken prince, but now he's kind of understanding other people because he's been isolated all his life, and he's done such nice, kind things for her and tried to protect her against his mother and stuff, especially once he's more healed. So I don't know why that's an issue once again. Number 4, zero chemistry. Zero. Nim spends 95% of this book rejecting Ren's advances. So when they finally have that fateful first kiss, it feels more cringy than swoony. That again is because she's been through something really traumatic, and also he's royalty and she is nothing. Like in most stories like that, you don't see a commoner just jumping into bed with royalty because there are consequences for it. So she's pushing him away multiple times. That's obvious. Number 5, there is repeated reference to some past sexual assault that is never fully explained, and some veiled references to Nim losing a baby that assumingly was a result of the sexual assault that was never explained. And then she says, update, this was explained. I missed it, probably because I was listening to the audiobook while driving. So yeah, I was going to say it was discussed how she was sexually assaulted and it resulted in a pregnancy, and then she lost the baby because of it, and she was like in some sort of accident. So that is the trauma that she has. So obviously when you've been through that and you've been sexually abused by a male, you're not going to want any male advances after that. It's very, very hard to come back from that. So that is the reason. Number 6, what it felt like. Endless chapters of Nim just hanging out in Ren's head, soul, body, whatever, trying to fix his lumos. That was her job. That's literally her job. Why was the wicked queen and lecherous older brother basically given a free pass for abusing Nim? Because she was a servant. That's how it works. That's how it works in the olden days or in fantasies. Servants are abused and she's there to work. She wasn't even getting a salary, but she was there to do work because the queen or the monarch demanded it of her, and that's just how it was. And then it says, the last point is, what the fuck was the cliffhanger? Right at the end, some character who was seen on screen only briefly captures Nim in an icky, invasive way and suggests he's going to do bad things to her. Roll credits. Well, I've since read the second book and that makes more sense, and it links into everything, and it links into Ren and what happened to him as well. So I think if you read further, you would also know. And the next one is a 1-star, and it says, bear with me while I try to compose all the reasons why I didn't like this book. First of all, most of the book consists of a constant narration of the healing process, which didn't fully get solved until the last chapter. Most of the time, it was very confusing and repetitive. No real action or anything worth reading happened until page 100. I disagree because she was trying different methods. Like, she can't just go in and fix anybody's Lumi, because everybody's Lumi is different. So you kind of have to figure out what their essence is and how the magic can heal that essence in a certain way that they need it to be healed. And that's the way I understood it anyway. Sorry if the lighting's changed as well. It is quite late in the afternoon. It's like 3:30 and it is partly cloudy today. When it comes to the main characters, I really didn't like how there was a 4-year age gap. There also wasn't really any connection between them. Almost felt a little forced. Then there was this creepy older brother, the heir to the throne, who assaulted the FMC Nim, and then there was never spoken about again. Overall, the plot of this book was all over the place and didn't really make sense. Just extremely boring and not worth any time reading. Well, the older brother thought that she was a spy, so he was trying to antagonize her into giving up her possession. But I wouldn't say that it was never spoken about again, because they did. Like, before he died, he said sorry for all that stuff, but he kind of just, that was his way of trying to intimidate her. The next one I have on my list is called Frozen Charlotte, and I actually recently read this and gave it a 4.5 star. I also only have 2 reviews of this, but they're both only 2 stars. So it says this had the potential to be truly creepy, but it just threw everything out there, which didn't allow for any suspense to build. There's also a lot of inconsistency in the character of Rebecca, who is by turns evil and menacing, or scared and sweet and helpful. In fact, all of the characters have personalities that change when it's convenient for the plot to do so. There is no subtlety to this novel at all. It just throws everything on the page, which for me doesn't work in a ghostly story and creepy dolls. I wanted subtlety and menace and building dread, and I didn't find it there. I can kind of understand that, but for me, because Rebecca wasn't the main source of all the menacing things that were happening, it made more sense. There was another reason, but I do agree that all the characters' personalities constantly change, but I think that can happen in a house that is haunted because of the oppression. Like, if you watch The Conjuring and stuff, people are one way and then they change to another way, like when they're being oppressed by a spirit. So that's what I accounted it to anyway. But I thought it was creepy enough, especially with the dolls and the little girls and the ghost, and everybody just had some weird dark sense about them. So I thought it was great. Okay, the next one is another 2-star. Mainly, I didn't find this scary. I actually found it quite funny, and hey, maybe that is more of a reflection on me than anything else, but you can't describe your main character as a sugar mice kind of girl and expect me not to laugh her out of town. I don't know what that means, but I know sugar mice is like those little candy sweet. Now, if this were a psychological book on a Piper, then Chef's Kiss, true, would have been great, but the dolls massively cheapened it. The human psyche is way more scary than penny dolls. I get that. Like, yeah, the doll thing was overdone. That's why I didn't give it a 5-star. I just felt like that was a little bit far-fetched, but I agree with that part. Also, the little incesty moment at the end, loved that. I'm joking. It's actually made me drop my phone and physically recoil you. They weren't related by blood. That's all I can say. I don't agree with it, but they weren't related by blood. And then there's a bit where there's a spoiler, which I don't want to read, but I don't think that's all valid in my opinion anyway. The next book is Belladonna, and the first thing that popped up was a 1-star, but it is really, really long, so let's not do that. Okay, here we have another one. It says 1.5 star. Wow, this book gave literally nothing. This is like insta love, but with distant family the FMC has never met before, and some more insta love with 2 love interests she insists she absolutely hates, but also thinks about all the time and goes out of her way to see them. There is no magical setting or anything horrific or gothic about the environment, set, or plot. Scratch that, there's barely a plot. There's only people sitting around and chatting with the FMC, thinking about everything that's none of her business, and some etiquette book that she needs to abide by. Honestly, I didn't find one single thing I cared about. Oh, and they have the most boring soirees and tea parties. Even the gossip whispered there was boring. I disagree. Like I said, I loved Signa and I loved Death and their relationship. The fact that she was constantly trying to teeter between life and death. The fact that she could control death. I thought that was really interesting and very, very compelling. There was a lot happening in my opinion. Like, how can you see someone take Belladonna, teeter on death's door, and then think nothing happened? I didn't like the parts as well where they had tea parties and stuff, but the stuff with Blythe, her cousin, I thought that was interesting. And I don't know, I don't understand. I thought there was quite a bit going on compared to the other books that is in the series. Anyway, let's find another. Okay, this one's 2 stars. Let's see how long it is. Oh, that's all right. This one was a 2 star. So I really wanted to love this, but it didn't work for me, I guess. And here's why. 1, it took me almost 1 week to finish the first half of the book, and that says something. Like, if it weren't for Libby, I'd probably DNF it. The first half is so repetitive that literally nothing is going on. Like, just the same sentence repeating the same thing. Very bland characters. They were very one-dimensional. They were very, I don't know, unappealing for me. 3, lacking in the world building. The plot is very messy. Like, what exactly is going on here? And it's more telling than showing, and I didn't enjoy that. The relationship between the main characters felt forced with zero chemistry whatsoever. Signa is annoying. She's so damn naive. It got me on my nerves. Death is boring. What? The mystery? Bitch, where? 8. Lastly, I think the only villain here is the dumb book, Lady's Guide to Beauty and Etiquette, because for the love of God, please burn it. So yeah. Oh, also I can already tell the second book is going to be boring because the story is basically finished. Sometimes authors need to know that it is okay to just make a standalone, you know. You don't need to make everything as a long-ass series anyway. Let's break that down. It took me about 3 days to read, and the font was tiny, and it just sucked me in immediately. Honestly, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was such a fun time. I liked the dark gothic vibes. I liked the depiction of death and how death personified could do and manipulate things, and how she could speak to death. I thought that was very interesting, and like, she just didn't die. She couldn't die either. Like, I thought that was interesting. The mystery of what happened to Blythe, I think, was interesting as well, because who could it have been? Like, and the person that it was, I didn't expect either. So I don't know. I think that's a little bit overzealous. Maybe you listened to the audiobook and didn't read along and you missed some parts. The next book, which is Throne of Glass. I don't know why I put Crown of Midnight first, but Throne of Glass is next on my list. I think we might find it difficult to find a 1 star here. Oh, the first one I opened. But if it's 6 paragraphs long, we're definitely not reading it. I hate, why do people write reviews like that? Honestly, who's going to read that? Who's going to read that? Absolutely not me. Okay, this one's still long, but it's a 1 star. I hate read a chapter from book 5 of the series with a friend, and I'm going to register my opinion that while it may have slightly improved my character development or world building or etc., I wouldn't know. It is objectively just as horribly written as this book, and that's the tea. Montage of me screaming, why is this hype, for 5 hours. Let me give this book one minuscule fragment of credit. The plot isn't horrible. Okay, yeah, the plot is kind of boring, and there are a lot of opportunities for deception and badassery that are not taken. I take full offense at badassery being missed. But seriously, guys, this book suffers from fucking terrible character work. Thesis statement. Selena is a badly written character. She's arrogant as hell, which I've said as well. Really petty, which I've said as well. And somewhat obsessed with her own appearance, as I said as well, because of her upbringing. And that's not even the problem. A horribly unlikable assassin as a lead character could be amazing, but Selena doesn't have enough character depth for her unlikability to be tolerable. Her alleged tragic past, pretty much not represented on the page. Well, we don't know yet. Frankly, tragic pasts need a lot of fleshing out to be compelling and believable, and I don't even think Selena's trauma is acknowledged once in this book. Come on, at least do the bare minimum. Listen, okay, you want to get me started on my number 1 pet peeve in a YA for all eternity: heroines that have less sense than the audience. I like my heroines to be 1 step ahead of me, or at least my level. Let's talk about the fact that Selena is just a complete idiot, some assassin. I am 98% sure I have more sense than this character. Prop for love triangle does. What? I didn't understand that. Like, I'm sorry, but how am I supposed to be intimidated by someone who 98% of the audience could own? She's 17 years old. She is 17 years old. So if you're 17, I understand it too, but you can't tell me that you have more sense in her if you are older than 17 years old. That's high school age. I had no sense at 17 years old. I thought I did. I thought I knew everything, but I had absolutely no sense. I was petty. I was obsessed with with the way I looked, it makes sense. It tracks. I am so disappointed by all this character could have been, and all the character is not. Completely lighthearted. Again, that could be super enjoyable to read about. I'd love a book about a slightly unbalanced girl who murders people with a smile on her face. What's that called? Satan's Affair? Read that. Read that by H.D. Carlton. You'll love that. This could be Selena if she were cleverer and a lot more fleshed out, but she's just an unbelievably annoying heroine. She is annoying, and I agree, and she is naive, but like I said, she's 17 years old. She's still a freaking child at the end of the day. Yes, she's been trained to be an assassin, but she can only get better. And the J word, I am so annoyed by the love triangle. Dorian is just flat as hell and has no character. Kale is okay. I know someone is going to fight me over this, but I do not care. Kale is an overprotective ass. I cannot believe he's supposed to be the good romantic interest compared to Rowan. How bad is Rowan? What is happening in this damn series? And yeah, I forgot just how much I hated it until I hate read. But the writing style of the book is worse than amateur. That's just rude. It is so tedious, it is so typical, and it is so overdramatic. I take full issue with both overuse and exclamation points and lack of the ability to truly get into a character's head. I made my own decision and I am not continuing. Okay, that was a bit harsh, but I don't agree. I don't agree. Like I said, there's reasons for it, and if you carry on in the series that you will pick up on things. Yes, in the first book, it's I think it's 8 books. Like, of course everything's not going to be revealed in the first book. What was the point of having a series then? And this is like written back in the day when long series were a thing. So a lot of people just go in with so many expectations, and sometimes they don't get met, and then they react like that. But for me, I went in with high expectations because I loved ACOTAR, and I knew that if her writing style was similar to ACOTAR, I would love Throne of Glass. I mean, I'm only 4 books, well, I'm onto my 4th book in the series now, and I'm hoping it's still good, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it. See if there's not another full-length novel. Okay, this is fairly short, another 1 star. It says, if this garbage can somehow miraculously get published, okay, English, then I have hope the smut I wrote 3 years ago can too. This book is fucking horrible. I wanted some badassery. Why is everybody using badassery as a word? But instead I got a shitty love triangle and annoying characters who I wish just died. Okay. I was so incredibly bored for the first 130 pages of this book, and then I skimmed so much that I made it to page 295 in 2 minutes. Then I forced myself to suffer and actually read, and I found it somewhat alright. But this book was still fucking bad. I really don't get why people like this, but whatever, my guy. Each to their own. Also, don't come at me saying I didn't read the right book or your opinion is wrong, bitch. Do yourself a favor and leave, and don't annoy me with comments like that. Everyone has a right to express their opinion however they want. Thanks and good night. Okay. I want my SJ Mass virginity taken in the most painful way possible. I haven't saved myself for this long just to be disappointed. Seriously, I'm so excited to read the badly written smut and growls and purrs and talons. Or is that in her other series? Okay, it's definitely in the other series, but okay. That was a bit hectic, and I think you must have missed a lot when you were skimming. I didn't think they were that bad. What the fuck? People are crazy. And you do have a right to your own opinion, but sometimes your opinion is wrong. There's another one that someone just said, DNF at who cares, update, and then she wrote the date. The fandom for Throne of Glass is constantly harassing anyone whose opinion differs from theirs, and for what? A book written by an author who doesn't know or care for them. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Original review. A badass, why does everyone keep saying badass? A badass assassin who keeps telling us how badass she is, all while doing nothing to live up to the suspected badassery. Can I just say this review is badass, like the best I've ever written. If I were any more badass, I'd burn myself. Do you even know how cool I am? I thought not. You 1,000 eye roll emojis. That's just part of Selena's character arc. Like I said, it was the way she was grown up, and Arabin, I think, just fed her a bunch of bullshit and made her believe that she was the absolute best. Possibly she could be the best, like I said, with time, but she is only 17. She has so much growing to do. I think she's 17 years old. I keep saying that. Still have a long list here, and the sun is disappearing. We might have to pick this up tomorrow or just do a couple more. My next one is by an author that is not very well liked, but Harry Potter. That is literally a cult classic, and it's so nostalgic for me. For me, it is The Deathly Hallows. I rated this 5 stars. Absolutely loved this book. I thought it was amazing, and it is also one of my favorite movies as well. But let's find some 1-star reviews that isn't a full-on thesis. Sorry, I'm getting croaky as well. I've been sitting here talking and I've been filming all day, so unfortunately I think I'm getting pretty dehydrated. Why can I not find any 1-star reviews here? Okay, I found like 3 1-star reviews, but oof, it's long. This one isn't so long, but it's a 1-star again, and it is, why do I hate this book? Oh, let me count the ways. 1, predictable. 2, oh my gosh, they're going to get caught and they barely get away. How many times did that happen? At the wedding, at the cafe, in the woods, at the Malfoys, at Gringotts, at the ministry, at Godric's Hollow, at Luna's dad's house. Did I miss any? I mean, after one such incident, there's a line that says something like, how did they manage to escape from such a situation was beyond him. Yeah, it's because it's a freaking novel, okay? That's part of the thing. He was being hunted. Obviously, everywhere he was going, he was being hunted. That's what happened, and he still had the trace on him. Duh. Number 3 is, what the fuck was up with that chapter with Dumbledore? It's like J.K. Rowling was trying too hard to make this book more than the good story it should have been, okay? Draco was ignored, explained away as a just contrived plot point. Ron leaving and then coming back to save Harry, contrived plot point. Ron and Hermione finally kissing in the middle of a war, in the middle of a hallway that's about to fall apart. Sure, that's going to happen. Who the fuck cares about the characters that did die? I mean, only the Weasley twin was someone important, and of course Hedwig died. Harry couldn't have a way to communicate with the wizarding world now, could he? Lord Voldemort has been foiled by Harry how many times now? And when he kills Harry, does he think that the wizard mastermind who's been foiled by the stupid boy as many times as he had? Oh my gosh, I can't even. I think, dude, this is too deep. Like, honestly, who the fuck cares about all those things? Like, it all just made sense as a story. Like, you see all the plot points together, not as separate entities. And I felt like it did flow really well. I feel like all the bad things were a combination of like the entire series. Like, it all came to a head in that one story. And like, yes, people did die, but they still needed to move forward. Like, what did you want them to do? Like, they still needed to defeat Voldemort. So I don't know. I feel like this is just a little bit too petty in my opinion. Let's move on to the next one. I know we only read one there, but let's move on to, how about The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon? And I think that will be our last one. I do have a few more, so please do comment down below if you do want to see more of these. They'll have 1, 2, 5. And I can find a couple more, but this video is going to be going forever if I don't stop right now. Oh, 2% of these are actually 1 stars. My gosh, the lighting has changed so much. I'm so sorry, guys, but this is the last one. This is a 2-star actually, and it says, I could review this and tell you all the reasons I didn't like it, but that would probably require me to read more of it. I only got about a quarter of the way through. I'd rather not. Suffice it to say, creating a complicated alternate London and explaining its social order to me in detail for 200 pages doesn't really work if you forget to develop an interesting main character or any of the characters. Twilight has better characterization than this. I knew right away exactly what kid of adult Bella was. That doesn't make sense to me. Part of the problem, of course, is the unrelenting hype. I read at least half a dozen articles touting this as the next big thing and the author as the next J.K. Rowling, which obviously no, but also not even close. This is the kind of deeply nerdy, intricate book. It has several flow charts at the beginning and practically requires you referencing them. That will appeal mostly to teenagers who have the time to care. And this is from someone who reads a fair amount of sci-fi and fantasy and is used to a lot of new stuff being thrown at you in the first 100 pages of a book. But good luck with the books 2 through 7. I'm sure there'll be more pages. Okay, some of this I do agree with now that I've read the second book. Like, I feel like Paige just isn't the best female character. I find her very annoying and she's a know-it-all, as well as thinking that she's the best and knows all these things, but then walks into the same set of problems every single time. But the first book I thought was done really well. I liked the character description, the world description, like everything was grey and dreary and I could just feel it. And when they described like Oxford and how it had changed and how it still looked like it did back in the day and how the refs had taken over it and the litter and disgustingness of all of it. I loved that description. I do believe that the character or the world building was a little bit OTT, because they explained like everything about the syndicate and the workings of that, but not really like where it came from or where it stemmed from. I feel like some things were left out and there were a few plot holes. So I do agree with that, but this was a 4.75 for me. I had such a fun time because I thought it was so different from what I'd read before. But with that being said, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't think it was as hectic as my other ones. I feel like I was struggling to find 1-star reviews, and some people are quite mean. Like my husband said to me in a few videos that I was being so negative, but you can't help it. If you don't like a book, you have to express it. And I feel like it's our duty after we've read a book to let other people know whether we liked it or not. And if you didn't, it's okay. And if you did, that's also okay. And you're allowed to have your opinion. But with that being said, let me know down below if you liked any of these books or if you gave them 1 star. I would love to know. I'll see you all in my next one. Thanks for joining, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.